Thanks for that, Mark. So the next guy we've got, I was actually going to do a demo because my colleagues like to talk a lot. The next demo we've got is rather exciting. It's saved the best for last. It's actually technology that was used in Lord of the Rings. It's a company called GreenButton, a New Zealand innovator, using the power of Windows Azure to deliver productivity gains to businesses leveraging cloud technology, right? So it's all Microsoft-based technology. It is endpoint agnostic, so again, if you're developing a program, an application that needs to leverage cloud computing power, you can start plugging in GreenButton facility into that. So with that, I'd like to welcome Dave Fellows. He's lead architect for GreenButton.
Thank you. Thanks, Nick. Let me just see if I can get this up and running. No, we'll just close it. So I want to quickly show you a scene from Lord of the Rings. Why? Because Nick asked me to. Actually, he just called me on Thursday last week and said, can you do a demo in this foundation session? And I'm anything but a seasoned presenter, so I was like, well, okay. And can you include some Lord of the Rings stuff? Sure, we can do that. So apologies, the resolution isn't great, but I didn't have time to fish out a better clip, so let's have a look. So I should really correct something that Nick said. GreenButton technology wasn't used in making the Lord of the Rings. That's a bit of a stretch. But this is really the catalyst for how the GreenButton came to be. So in these scenes, tens of thousands of digital horses and riders, and close to 100,000 digital orcs, and each one of them are rendered individually and placed on the battle scene. The processing requirement to render just a single frame is immense. So Scott Houston, our founder, he was a CTO at Weta at the time. And they realised with only 2 months to go on production of Return of the King that they simply didn't have the processing capacity to get the movie out in time. So they had to build a brand new data centre with 1,000 processors in the space of 2 weeks, all for a cost of $4 million. This is for 2 months' work. It's incredible. So Scott thought, there has to be a better way. And he left Weta and founded Intergrid and developed the GreenButton product to enable seamless access to cloud computing resources at the click of a button. Let me show you. Let's just move this out of the way. So what we're looking at here is an application called Deep Exploration developed by Right Hemisphere. And this is used by some of the largest manufacturing and design companies in the world. So I created a simple animation here, 90 frames, just to sort of show you what we can do with the GreenButton. But this is with my severely limited design skills and not really knowing what I'm doing, to be completely honest. But if you want to see what this application is really capable of, then you want to visit righthemisphere.com, and I've got some amazing images where you can't distinguish them from a photo. You know, rendered stuff. It's incredible. So what we're going to do here is we're going to set up the rendering settings for our final animation. Okay, we're going to set a resolution that'll fit in our projector, and we'll crank up the rendering quality because that's how we roll, and we want the most photorealistic output when we render it. And so this HDR, high dynamic range ray tracer, the quality settings define for each pixel how many light sources and environment samples are calculated. So very CPU intensive stuff, as we will see. And I can't get to the OK button because let's do that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to render a single frame on my computer just so we can get an appreciation for the problem we're facing. And so this is going to piece the image together, little square by little squares. We see, there you go, off it goes. And if we have a look at our CPU graph here, our 8 logical cores are getting a damn good hiding. I don't know about you, but there's something quite satisfying about seeing 8 little CPU graphs here maxed at 100%. Unless the culprit's something like Norton or Java.exe. Not so cool. In this case, it's cool. So
he can say that, I can't.
Yeah, I can get away with it. So for the record, this single frame of this 90-frame animation is going to take around 2 minutes 20, and some of the later frames where the car's taking up more of the scene will take about 3 minutes. So you multiply that out for the 90-frame animation, and we're looking at about 3.5 hours. So don't grab me a seat, guys. I'm not standing for that long. No, I wouldn't do that, yeah. So we'll cancel that because the novelty of watching this little squares pop up wears out eventually. Trust me. So we didn't have 3.5 hours, and I'm sure you're pleased about that. But fortunately, I've registered at the GreenButton.net, and I've been able to enter my login details into the GreenButton plugin here in Deep Exploration. And so I can now submit this job to Windows Azure at the click of a button. And just to be clear here, this is a 100% live demo. There's no smoke and mirrors at all. So, again, mercy of the demo gods and all that, and useful things like an internet connection. So what we're doing here is we're packaging up the job, extracting all the things like the environment map, textures, our lighting sources, all these things, and we cache those on the server so we can minimize the upload time. There we go, it's going up all right. So we submit the job. The user can now carry on doing what they're doing without their computer being locked up. So this is pretty key. We're now going to use this application in here that we use internally to monitor and manage our back end, or Azure's back end. And we can see our job has been submitted, and we have our 91 tasks representing each of the frames in the animation. And if we click on that, we can see all of our frames have been processed at the same time. That's pretty cool. And if we look across here on the right-hand side, you can see the individual Azure instances that are doing the work. And you may also notice that we have 4 cores on each of these instances. So we have 360 cores cranking this thing out all at the same time. Pretty cool. We call it the G Core 360, not the i7. It's the next best. So we can see a few of these are starting to complete. If we flip back to Deep Exploration, in the plugin, the user can get an up-to-date progress of how their job is going. So you can see we're already up to 84% complete. Cool. And from in here, we can actually also, we can look inside Azure and get real-time, up-to-date log messages, trace messages from what's happening on that server. So this is very useful for being able to diagnose what's going on. So this is using the service bus to broadcast events out of Azure, which is pretty cool. So that just carried on and finish that frame. So there we go. That's complete. So all of our frames have finished processing, so we just need to merge them into the final animation. So that pulls down all the frame outputs and creates the movie out of it. So that shouldn't take too long at all. So far, so good.
None of these are screenshots, by the way.
Yeah, fingers are firmly crossed. Most of the things that could go wrong have worked, so it's got to be
just
good.
haunted fate.
Yeah, that was foolish. Cool, so the job is complete here. We've merged it. We can now go back to the plugin, and this should hopefully refresh, and bang, we're complete. And so we can download our results. Overwrite that. Yes, please. And again, the internet does its thing. Good to see. Oops, this has been up on the other screen, so let's have a quick look at it. There we go. We have our final 90-frame animation. So, it really demonstrates the power of what we can do with this. 3.5 hours to process it on a local machine at a fairly grunty laptop, compared to a couple of minutes in Windows Azure. And the cost of that is not a lot. Only talking a few dollars for the minutes that we used up. So it's extremely powerful. So let me just flick back to PowerPoint here. Yes, I'm going to change your cover slide. Cool. So the plugin that I showed you is a custom-built plugin for Deep Exploration. It's a very tightly integrated with the product. However, we're developing an SDK at the moment that should be available sort of later in the year. And so this allows anyone to grab the green button and put into the application and get around the complexities of queuing, instance provisionment, deployment, management, billing, notification, all that stuff out of the box. So if anyone's interested to get involved with that program or do some beta testing, then come and find me at TechEd or send me an email. Thanks.
Great stuff. Thanks, Dave.